Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's Old Man Caleb. I apologize. You kind of sound like, honestly, you kind of sound like the principal off of Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, good.
We'll just go with that.
No, what I was thinking was the guy on Muppet Treasure Island that answers the door at the shipyard.
Oh, yes.
Oh, actually, he was good. I was actually going for Old Tom from Muppet Treasure Island.
Old Tom.
Yeah, that's also a good one. It's kind of a mixture between Old Tom and Dead Tom.
That's true.
That's true.
Dead Tom.
Dead Tom's dead. Frick. You know, we could go on a whole podcast about that movie, so we probably
it's such a great movie. And
Muppet
I mean,
Treasure Island, man.
This past week was Talk Like a Pirate Day, so on September 19th.
Yes,
so
it was.
If you didn't participate in piratey goodness at that time, listener, I'm sorry.
No.
Put it in your calendar for next year.
You know, the next thing we're going to talk about, actually, some people think this company is a pirate, or a pirate full of pirates. Microsoft. Hey, they had an event, right? Wasn't very eventful, but there's some hardware. And guess what? On this podcast, we like to talk about some hardware, right?
Most of the time.
Let's get into it. So Microsoft did their Surface event. It was kind of just a quick little, here you go. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the hardware in here. So let's start with the first thing. Surface Laptop Studio 2. SLS 2. Maybe we'll go with that, right? I was trying to be better with it. Anyway, hey, did you... You know, it's funny, we were talking earlier about it a little bit, and Landon's like, wait, they released number 1?
Yeah.
I do like vaguely remember the first one. I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's kind of a neat like gimmick for a monitor attachment method and whatnot. Like I can see how that might be useful for some folks, but I still don't know why they haven't released a standalone monitor version of the display that they had attached to the Surface Studio desktop. That was my thought when they first announced this. What was the first one came out last year, or was it 2 years ago?
I want to say 2.
I think it was.
I think it was 2.
Yeah. And my thought is still, oh, yeah, what an interesting novel way to attach a screen to a laptop. But where the fetch is the standalone monitor from the Surface Studio?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just us. I mean, I've heard many people comment that, like, hey, when are you going to release just that monitor? That'd be great.
Seriously.
Thanks. Oh. Well, let's get into what it offers. Well, guess what? It's keeping the same design as its predecessor, with a 14.4 pull-forward display that lets users seamlessly transition between laptop and tablet modes. They did say, though, that Microsoft did listen to customer feedback, and they added an additional USB-A port and a micro SD card slot in the chassis. So,
yeah.
A micro
SD
SD card slot? Does it have a regular SD card slot?
That's what they wanted, so they listened.
Yeah. I mean, most everybody's using micro SD at this point. They're big enough now. By which I mean they hold enough storage. That's not what they're not physically larger.
I understand that, but at the same time, it's like people that are generally in the market for a laptop in the creative sphere are using standard SD cards.
Well, yes and no.
Everyone I know that would be are
people who have been in the creative sphere for a while, right? Like photographers who have been photographers for like the past 5 to 10 years they probably do have a bunch of standard sized SD cards lying around, because getting a large enough SD card that you could do like an entire multi-hour photo shoot on a single card, you need to have like 128 gigs plus. And before, 5 years ago, you had to get a standard size SD card to have that much storage. But now you can get 1 terabyte micro SD cards. And so anybody who's gotten into photography since then is probably like, everything I shoot on micro SD cards with adapters anyways, because it's just smaller and more convenient.
But my thing is, though, do cameras take, like legit DSLR cameras, do they take a micro SD card?
You have to use an adapter.
So why buy? That's just stupid. I'm sorry.
I mean, every single micro SD card I've ever bought came with a standard SD adapter. So
that's true, but you're paying more for that than you would the same storage size of a regular SD card, because it takes more to make it smaller.
Are you anymore? I'm not sure.
I don't know that.
I haven't really looked at like SD card prices seriously in quite some time.
I'm just assuming that, because if you buy like a big desktop hard drive at 4 terabytes, costs less than if you buy a compact version of the same hard drive, or if you buy a laptop version of that hard drive. Like the smaller it gets, the more expensive it generally gets.
Actually, though,
I just was doing in the market like a year ago, so
not be true. Yeah, but flash RAM, like flash storage prices have been dropping a lot. Over the past year, and hard drive prices have not been dropping. And in fact, for large capacity hard drives, they've been going back up.
Have they really?
Freaking weird. And well, it's because nobody's making them in as much bulk as they used to. So I again have not been shopping for a hard drive in it's been a while. So I haven't really done like a straight across price comparison between a high capacity hard drive and a reasonably high capacity SSD. But I don't know. And like I said, I haven't compared SD cards to micro SD cards in a very long time either. I haven't honestly seen actual pants SD cards for sale for any reason other than video capture, because some of those do have higher data throughput rates than micro SD cards can hit so far. Anyways, there's a bunch of reasons. I can understand why for like a thin and light type laptop they would have gone with micro SD card, because it just takes up less space in the design. And they were probably like, oh yeah, we'll just stick this in here. And I do think that for anybody who's like in the photography space, for instance, and they've gotten into the photography space over the past 5 years or so, they probably shoot mostly on micro SD anyways. And if they're not shooting on micro SD, then they're shooting on some kind of proprietary flash standard that like, Hasselblad or Nikon or what's the other, they made that terrible phone. Oh man.
Red.
Well, I wasn't thinking Red, but also Red. Yeah, like if you're in the video space and you're using cinema cameras, those use their own proprietary crap anyways, and you have to have a dock to plug those in. So, I don't know. For those folks, maybe the extra USB-A port was was really nice, because now they can just plug their proprietary adapter garbage into that without having to make it so they can't charge their laptop at the same time or something like that. Anyway,
I was gonna say I don't have like a high camera or anything, but anything that I've had recently for electronics that take a memory card or anything, always been a micro. So
yeah, it's I mean, things have been moving in that direction. It's not surprising, but yeah, if you are coming to it from the perspective of, my camera's like 5, 6 to 10 years old, which honestly, like a 10-year-old high-end DSLR shoots amazing pictures. Like, it's not like our sensor technology has gotten that much better, and the lenses that they use on those things are the same as the lenses they've been using for the past 50 years on single lens reflex cameras. They're outstanding optically, and there's no reason to change them. So yes, a professional photographer could easily be shooting using a 10-year-old camera, and all of their media I mean, some of them might have all their media still in compact flash, for crying out loud, and they've been dealing with this problem for a very long time. I don't know when the last time a laptop shipped with a compact flash slot on it, but they're used to using adapters at this point anyways, I suppose. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some folks that are going to look at this and be like, I wish that had an SD card, like a full-size SD slot on it, and I think that's fair. Probably a lot of photographers are going to feel that way.
Gotcha.
But I think it's also fair that probably a lot of those photographers are using a MacBook, not a Windows laptop. So
it's fair.
yeah.
Fair to say. Well, let's go ahead and continue talking about that, shall we? The laptop studio. It actually says it offers twice the power of the original model. They say because it's the 13th generation of Intel Core CPUs, as well as the RTX 450 and 460 GPUs. But they did throw in that you could put an RTX 2000. I want to say is it called just ADA or is it ADA generation GPU?
Ada Lovelace.
ADA.
Is that the 2000?
Yeah, this is the RTX 2000 ADA generation GPU option for designers. I just haven't heard that, so I didn't know if it was ADA or if that was shortened for something.
So they're one of the code names for one of the generations of RTX cards was Ada Lovelace. She was a prominent computer scientist from back in the day, and they codenamed it GPU after her. But I don't know if that was the 2000s RTX cards, or maybe this is referring to something different. Like this might be referring to one of their workstation tier cards or something like that. I'm not sure.
It says that one's for designers, obviously, so it's more.
Yeah,
but that's an option, which fair enough. They did say that this will be the first Intel-based Surface device to include a neural processing unit, which will add support for unique camera features and improve AR workloads.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is referencing the A2000, which is, so the RTX. Okay, yes. This is one of their professional tier GPUs. That's what it is.
Okay.
That's
what I was thinking it was.
Not like a super high-end one, but like one of their lower end. Gosh, I wish. This is where branding, man. They started calling all of these RTX.
Yep.
And all of their gaming GPUs are RTX, where it used to be that we had GeForce, and then we had Quattro.
That's right.
Quadro. Sorry. Quattro is an Audi thing, actually. That's not Quadro. They had their Quadro cards, and now they don't. Now they're just RTX A2000 instead of... Okay, but yeah, the A2000. That's what would have once been a Quadro card, but is not anymore. Got it.
So this Surface Laptop Studio 2 starts at $1,999 for the base model with just the integrated Iris Xe graphics, and it will start to ship on October 3rd. The top-of-line model with 2 terabytes of storage, 64 gigs of RAM, and the GeForce RTX 460 GPUs is priced at $3,699. You can pre-order that today if you'd like. There, Spend Love.
No thanks. I'd rather buy a new Mac, a new iPhone, and a new iPad for about that price.
Yeah, right.
Which, I'm sorry, I'm talking about exclusively Apple devices right now, and I get 3 of them for the cost of this one. That's insane.
That's top tier right there for that. So,
yeah, except top tier. I feel like if you went with a non-Surface branded laptop and you paid $3,000 for it, you'd be getting a mobile, actually, you might be able to buy one of those stupid oversized beasts that has an actual pants desktop tier 4080 Ti in it. And desktop class Intel, 13900K and stuff like that. And it's still a laptop. You can still take it places. I mean, the battery life will be like half of 10 minutes, but
yeah,
still, that's a heck of a lot more power, and it would cost probably less than $3,000. Good night. That's insane.
Yes. Well, let's move to the next device, shall we? The Surface Laptop Go 3. Landon, you remember there was a 1 and a 2? Just wondered.
Yeah, and I always
That rings a bell.
questioned why.
True. This one is the 12.4 Surface Laptop, inch Surface Laptop is the most affordable, they're saying, at $799. The model comes with a more powerful 12th gen Intel Core i5 CPU, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 256 gigabytes of storage. They say they're claiming here that this should offer an 88% performance boost compared to the original Surface Laptop Go, which launched 3 years ago.
Well, I remember that the original Surface Go, so like not the Surface Laptop Go, but the Surface Go, was using a Pentium processor in it.
Pentium.
Was the Surface Laptop Go also using a Pentium? Because that would explain the 80% improvement in performance.
Going from a Pentium to an i5, yeah.
I mean, a 3-year newer i5, though actually not 3 years newer because 12th gen is last year's product. So, but
Right.
a 2-year newer i5 from a Pentium would, that better be at least 80% faster. Holy crap.
But it does say that they support fast charging too, so you have that.
No, that's good.
Yep.
The new iPhones don't, so that's
that's a one-up. There you go. It is available to pre-order starting right now, and it will ship October 3rd. The more expensive version with the 16 gigabyte costs $200 more, so at $999. So you have $799, or if you want the higher RAM, $999. Okay. Who's ready for the Surface Hub 3?
Yeah, isn't this their weird conference table thing?
Yes. So obviously this is targeting business consumers. It's available in 50-inch and 85-inch sizes with a 20-point multi-touch display allowing multiple users to collaborate on the same digital whiteboard. And spend love, it runs Microsoft Teams. It's Teams. Okay, this is really bad wording. Runs Microsoft's Teams Rooms. Oh, I can't say this. This is how they worded it. Runs Microsoft's Teams Rooms Windows. That's how they worded it.
I don't understand how marketing to businesses works clearly, because it's obviously not the same as marketing to consumers.
No.
Which, I mean, I guess maybe that's why Microsoft has not had as much success with their Surface lines.
Maybe
They're
not.
just pretty much exclusively targeting businesses now because they just can't get stuff to fly on the consumer market.
If we're wanting to talk about numbers, it does promise up to 60% CPU performance, much more performance, and up to 160% GPU performance compared to the Surface Hub 2S. So
they had a 2S?
Yes,
That's what I was just thinking.
Yes, they did. I was wondering if one of you'd say that. Yep, they did. We covered it barely, but it was kind of like, oh, this is a slim. All right, moving on. So
yeah. Get this for your boardroom, listener. Have fun.
So they did talk actually about a little other things for like Copilot, but obviously the big thing is AI and Copilot, and they're trying to say you can use all this with all these things, and so that's in there. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, just trying to sell you on AI and Copilot with these devices. So
what Microsoft really needs to do with the Surface, the hub, is that what they call it? The giant table?
Yeah.
They need to take that over to the Xbox team and turn it somehow into like a tabletop gaming type.
That's exactly what they
device.
Need to do. A hub,
and that
have
could
tabletop.
Be really cool.
Do you remember I think it was the first one that was a table, wasn't it? Where it was a whiteboard table, like the first hub was that. And I believe back in the day we talked about that.
Probably.
And I was like,
but they need to do that.
That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But that would be so smart.
But yeah.
They
That
would
was the
probably
event.
sell some if they did that.
They might put the Xbox logo on it and just say, "Here's for tabletop." Why not?
I will say though that if I'm going to buy like a really expensive gaming table, I would rather get one that was similar to like the Wormwood modular gaming table, which I found out this past week. They had a customer with one of those tables. It's a very expensive heirloom piece of furniture. Their house caught fire, burned down. They lost everything in the house except for the table, which they were in fact able to dismantle, remove from the house, clean up, and put back together. And aside from some minor warping on one of the frame rails for the table, it's completely structurally sound and actually looks pretty good too. And this is after one of the firefighters that was trying to save the house came through the ceiling above it and landed on the thing.
Jeez.
So I'm pretty sure that the Surface Hub would not handle
Would
that
not
very
catch
well.
a firefighter, no.
So-
No.
Just I might go more for that kind of table than the made out of glass and a capacitive
geez.
touchscreen.
Wow.
But on that other table, it doesn't have Teams.
Yes, another massive selling point for it.
That's awesome.
Just huge. Like
Come
honestly,
on, you want your little team sticker. Remember when you buy like a new piece of hardware or something, they give you the little sticker.
gosh.
Just slap that on there, that team
No.
sticker.
Look, if this one goes out to anyone selling anything anywhere. On your advertising material, just put does not include Teams, and I'm more inclined to be interested, just automatically.
That's going to be the new gluten-free.
Oh, jeez.
Teams free.
Teams free. That's awesome.
Does not
Right.
work with Teams.
Oh,
Perfect. I'm so
deal.
on board.
all right. Well, we're going to move on from the Microsoft Surface event because apparently Amazon had an event as well. I do apologize, but I didn't realize they did until today. I don't think the rest of us did either.
You know, speaking of
Well-
things that don't work with Teams.
Hey,
Or people. Anyway,
things that don't work. You can kind of just stop it there.
Amazon, they announced a lot of stuff. The question we have here, the big one is, did anyone notice or care? No?
Probably
No.
not. You know what's really, really funny? And I didn't realize that this is how they did it until I actually started looking into like the event and stuff. But apparently what they do with these events is they send out a URL to media. And you go in, you click on the URL, you have to sign in. Basically, all you have to sign in with is you give your name and your media outlet, and then you can watch it. So if you have access to the URL, you can give your name, make up a media outlet, and you can watch it. But for some dumb reason, though, they don't put this out like on YouTube or even on Amazon to stream, like for just regular people to watch, like, you know, Samsung or Apple or Google or OnePlus or any tech company out there does. No, they make it so you can't watch this ever. I guess it's so dumb. It's like you want to be well, they don't care if they're a consumer product company,
Yeah.
That's true.
They don't.
but
either way, if, like, you'd think that to get the word out that, hey, we made more stuff. I guess anytime you open Amazon's app or go to their website, they shove it down your face. That, hey, look, Echo stuff.
They like to inform me a lot about I'm not taking advantage of their music.
Oh, I definitely am not taking advantage of their music. But
They
I
tell me
also
that all
have
the time.
Spotify Premium, so I don't care about Amazon
Right.
Music.
Right. I mean, I got the YouTube Premium, which gives me the music. So
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I do pay for Amazon Prime. The only thing that I use from it is the 2-day shipping.
that's the only reason we have it too. Okay, no. I did find I do use it for something else. So I'll hop on to Twitch because they own Twitch,
Right.
and they allow you to give one subscription a month to anybody you want. That's included. Like I don't have to pay. So I'll hop on and just give it to some creator or someone. I'm like, oh, here, you're playing. Here you go. Here you go. Here's a sub. So
That's
there you
true.
go. I do.
We do sometimes watch stuff on Prime Video. My kids especially like watching some things that are on Prime Video that are not anywhere else. So we do use that, but
Gotcha.
I definitely don't take advantage of the full, shtick that is Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, some of the stuff that they announced, they talked a lot about generative AI for Alexa. Oh, by the way, listener, we're going to be saying that word a lot. So if you have an Echo device nearby or you're listening, just be aware we're going to be saying Alexa on a regular basis during this segment of the podcast.
Boy.
So, I mean, if that's something that you thought you needed was generative AI on your Echo device, now it's there. I don't know exactly how that benefits you, but it's there.
This is... I feel like I've seen this Black Mirror episode. I don't know. Generative AI on an Amazon Echo. Surely this can't possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
And don't call me Shirley. Sorry.
Yeah,
My bad.
exactly.
Something I did read about it is, like, if you were to ask Alexa a question beforehand, it would basically give you the answer according to such and such or whatever, and then it gives you the answer. This way, it will just give you the answer instead, I guess. It may be a little bit faster. I don't know. I don't know if it's making up that answer either, because, it's, again, generative AI. You never
Generative
know.
AI is really good at the whole, I am so confident in this absolutely false information I'm providing to you right now.
Yeah.
So good at that.
Super.
And I'm just I cannot count the number of times I have seen somebody ask a question to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is all like, absolutely. Here's several paragraphs that are just patently false. Oh, thank you. I didn't.
Yeah.
Gosh, dang it.
Yeah, that should be fun. So
that'll be fine.
if you listener do have an Echo device and it gets updated with this, let us know how that goes, because I'm curious.
Yes, I am curious.
Definitely curious.
Does the quality of information improve or not? I don't know. Maybe Alexa was so bad at providing answers to questions beforehand that it'll just be a wash. Nobody will notice the difference.
Yeah,
Could be.
Who knows? Now, let's get into some products that they announced. A new Echo Show 8, and my favorite thing. Now, the 8 refers to the screen size, Caleb, there with the...
Okay, I
with
was
the
like, this
determined
can't
text.
be the 8th Echo Show. Really?
I mean, it might be. They
Oh my
update these
gosh.
on a fairly regular basis, but
They
I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
But no, the 8,
Why?
I'm pretty sure refers to the display size. But my
Right.
favorite way that they talked about this was that it now, and I didn't do my due diligence here to look this up to see if this was the case beforehand, but they did say it has edge-to-edge glass. Not an edge-to-edge display like you would normally see as a talking point. No, edge-to-edge glass.
So now it doesn't have a plastic bezel. It has a glass bezel.
Yeah, it's definitely still a
Good.
bezel, like a half an inch
Excellent.
bezel. But
That's what matters.
I
geez.
loved that. And also, I don't know if this is a typo in this article I'm reading, but it does say the smart display now features spatial audio, okay, in its built-in speaker. Singular. I really hope that's a typo and that there are
Yes.
more than one speaker. I'm assuming that it is, because spatial audio on one speaker doesn't make any sense.
No,
And
that's not how spatial audio works.
It also says that it is capable of kind of like the Apple Home. What's the Home
The mini
Pod?
one, HomePod.
HomePod, yeah,
Mini.
or like Google's speaker can adapt to where it is in the room to kind of make that sound a little better. So that's good. I don't know how good the speakers are on this thing. Probably not nearly as good as what Google provides or what Apple provides. Well, I can guarantee it's not that good. But it's probably the best speaker they have on a tablet type device. But again, I don't know. But that is now available. It is $150 for this new Echo Show 8. And one other thing that they're advertising a lot with this thing is new infrared sensors on it that can sense when you get closer or farther away to it, and it will change what's on the display. So if you are farther away from it, it will just have a clock, like a bigger clock on it, or something like that. And then as you get closer to it, it can show you more personalized information, like a calendar item, or turn more into that home hub type device that you can do stuff with, which that's fine. That makes sense that when you get closer to it, you're probably going to want to do something on it. So it changes what's there to let you, do something with it rather than walk up to it, tap it, and then do something. It just changes on its own.
Yeah. And I mean, if there's anything we want Amazon to have more information about, it's our proximity to things in our houses. That's
yes. Definitely need to give them that.
Surely can't go wrong at all.
Yes, but it's not like it's a camera. It's an infrared sensor. It's a little different.
Well, yeah. But I mean, if it knows that you spend a lot of time standing like next to your oven instead of next to your fridge, I don't know. Amazon's probably got some kind of algorithm to decide whether or not that means you're vegetarian.
I don't know. Either way, that's there. Another thing that they announced was a new Fire TV Stick 4K Max, because we need more words on things. They also have the Fire Stick 4K and a Fire Stick 4K Max, and there's a $10 difference between the two. I don't know what the hardware difference is between the two.
The Max is bigger.
Max?
That's usually what that means. Like the iPhone Pro Max is just bigger and has a nicer camera. So,
this probably has a nicer camera. Wait, no, not a camera. No. So the new Fire Stick 4K Max has an upgraded 2 gigahertz quad-core processor and 16 gigs of storage, which apparently is double the previous generation. Had 8 gigs, so if you can get more apps on it, basically. It also has support for Dolby Vision, HDR, HDR10 Plus, and Dolby Atmos, which that's fairly standard with most of these products nowadays.
That's pretty much all of them.
And it is $60, which isn't horrible. Also, don't buy it for $60 because Amazon always puts their stuff on sale almost as often as Google and just as cheap. So buy this when it's on sale for $30 because I guarantee it will be in about a week and a half.
Oh, come on. You might have to wait until Black Friday at this point.
Well, they are doing another Prime Day type thing in October, so it'll probably go on sale for that. Are they?
Oh, gosh. Okay, never mind. Yeah, get it then.
Yeah. Oh, man. They are also adding to this stick a Fire TV ambient experience feature, which basically allows you to, if you want to leave your TV on, instead of having just a blank screen because you had that before, instead of just turning your TV off, it will now show pictures or it'll have artwork in there, or you can put your own photos and whatnot, or different. They're also saying reminders or calendars, or basically smart home type things. It almost turns your TV into a home hub that's just not touchscreen and responsive in that sort of way. Which, okay, that's fine, but I don't really see a major use for that. Like, you can access your Ring cameras on this thing. Why? But I guess if you get bored and you have multiple Ring cameras, you can just turn it on and be like, "Ooh, this is fun. Ooh, there's a person walking past my house. Ooh, a leaf just fell." I don't know.
You could also just go sit on your front porch. I mean...
No, this is for people that don't want to be outside.
Okay. Got it.
That's what it is.
Got it.
This is for Wes.
Ditto. I like that one.
Well, I say that because if you go outside, you die of allergies. Doesn't matter what time of year it is.
A sad excuse for a human being. I'm allergic to grass. Okay.
Oh, so another pointless. Well, okay, the other ones weren't necessarily pointless. I don't understand the point of this product. A Fire TV soundbar. Basically, it's a soundbar that works with Fire TV products. It doesn't have Fire TV built into it. Like, you can buy a soundbar that has Roku built into it, so you don't have to buy a Roku TV or a Roku stick. You buy the Roku soundbar, and it works the same way. This is a Fire TV soundbar that you would think would do that. No, it's just a soundbar that is made to work with Fire TV devices.
Otherwise known as every
soundbar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't all soundbars designed to work with TVs and streaming sticks? And like, that's kind of their whole jam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I've got a soundbar. It only works with vinyl. That's it. It just,
That's it.
like, what the heck?
Yeah, my soundbar, strangely enough, only works with 8-track,
That's they're just weird how some of these are so specifically targeted.
Yeah. This new soundbar, they do say it does support DTX Virtual X and Dolby Audio. So that also makes sense. I would hope it would have that. And it's $120, and it's just a soundbar. It doesn't have like extra speakers or a subwoofer, and it's apparently 24 inches long. So it's not huge, but I'm sure it'll still sound better than your built-in speakers. So
yeah,
it's not a horrible product. It's just strange that they made it where
yeah.
it doesn't have TV OS built or Fire TV OS built into it. It's very strange.
I feel like what's strange is maybe less that they made it and more that they're advertising it as specifically works with Fire TV stuff. Like, okay, yes, don't they all? Like, if they don't, then you've really screwed up the whole Fire TV thing at some point.
Well,
like,
to be fair, my soundbar. So I've got a Chromecast Chromecast with and Google TV. I can't remember what it's called. It's got a Google TV built into it, and I did actually figure out a way on my television to where I can just turn it on and it'll go straight to that input and just be that. So I thought, oh, so great, I'll just start using that. But if I use that with a soundbar, the audio is just ever so slightly off.
oh,
And apparently this is a thing. Like, I looked it up, and other people were having the same issue. The Google TV or Google Chromecast with a soundbar, doesn't matter what soundbar it is. And I'm even using like HDMI ARC and stuff. So
yeah,
the best way to do it, it's just ever so slightly off. And it was off enough that I got annoyed within an hour or so. I'm like, nope, not doing this. So I just switched back to using my Roku TV as it normally is. So.
Oh, that's weird.
So if this does work better than that in this regard, that's fine. But at the same time, it's like, I could buy a TV with Google TV built in, or like my Roku TV built in. You can buy a TV with Fire TV built in, and any soundbar will work just fine.
Yeah.
So again, I don't fully understand the advertising works with Fire TV. It's like, well, it says it on the branding.
I will say that every time I hear anybody talk about HDMI, eARC, and all that stuff, like all of these new standards for how you connect your home theater together and get everything to work together, I just look at my setup that consists of like literally everything's just plugged into the TV, and then the TV has a single Toslink optical cable running to the back of an amp, and the amp just plays all the sound that the TV would otherwise play. And I think to myself, why is this not the solution that the industry landed on? Like, why does nobody think that this is better? Like, I don't have to change inputs on my amp. I don't have to deal with any. It's literally just a glorified giant speaker system for the TV itself. You change inputs on the TV, everything just works. It's so simple. And I'm like, I am like, at some point in the future, TVs are going to get rid of Toslink and amps are going to get rid of it, and you won't have the optical connection anymore. And that's the port that I'm going to miss. Like, yeah, 3.5mm headphone jacks was a kick in the teeth for sure, but no, that will kill me. When optical audio goes away, I'll just be like, well, I guess I'm never buying a new TV ever again.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I can switch inputs and nothing happens with my audio. I don't know what you're talking about there. Like,
Well,
it works just like the benefit here. And again, I have used optical sound bars before, and I had to turn them on separately from the TV. Whereas this one, when the TV turns on, the soundbar turns on because it's plugged into the HDMI. And then it just works.
Right.
Like, I literally don't have to
those-
do anything. It just it works the exact same way. Like,
But then you have weird crap where you plug in an HDMI streaming stick.
that is
And then
that's not just because of HDMI. That's any soundbar with a Chromecast. I looked it up.
It's not because I am aware. It's not because of HDMI, but it is one of the weird things that happens when you're relying on a purely digital ecosystem for this stuff. And it happened, like it started happening back in the day when everyone was like, oh, HDMI, let's just have everything. Like if you have a big home theater set up with, you know, your 7-point surround sound system and your big fancy amp and all that stuff, just have everything plug into the back of the amp and then plug your TV into that as a single display out. Or you can have a couple of different display outs and stuff like that. And you just have this one amp where you're managing everything from. But then that introduced a huge level of complexity to the way that all the digital signals were being processed and sent around, and introduced situations where you did have like multiple inputs and outputs on different devices that would cause crosstalk and would cause all kinds of problems. Or you had situations where some of these inputs didn't actually like line up with some of the outputs for some reason, and you couldn't get them to work. And it's just a very complex solution that introduces a lot of potential for error. And you wind up with weird stuff where an entire product line, like a Chromecast, that just causes weird problems with all soundbars, or a specific model of soundbar, or a specific generation of the HDMI spec. And it's just random. And that's the thing that bugs me, is that like, it's not that this particular issue is like, oh, what a horrible thing. No, like this is a problem that probably affects a very small percentage of people, but problems of some sort affect a very large portion of people that are wrapped up in a totally digital connection with all of their signals and that kind of thing. And I just think it's really nice to be able to just basically, I have two devices. I have the TV and whatever the TV is talking to via an HDMI cable. And the TV has speakers that suck. They're terrible. And so we get rid of those speakers. We replace them with an analog connection to an external whatever. And that's what ideally a soundbar would be. But we decided we need to connect to our soundbars via HDMI so that we can have conveniences like having them turn on at the same time as the TV, and they're controlled by the TV for volume and stuff like that. And like, I get it, but it is a digital solution to an analog problem, and that does introduce the potential for errors.
I understand your argument, and I raise you an argument based on the fact that it's a Chromecast issue. Because even when what I read, optical outputs, you're still plugging, it still didn't work. So your solution would not fix my problem there.
So, wait. So the Chromecast was just the audio that was coming out of the Chromecast was out of sync with the audio playing on the TV speakers.
No, it's a soundbar issue. And from what I read, it's not just HDMI soundbars. It's just soundbars, I get. Or, you know, again, I could be wrong, but from what I read, it's just when you're using a Chromecast with a soundbar, people are having that issue.
Interesting.
I mean, this is extremely off topic. I don't see how that's possible. If it works on the TV speakers, then any analog output from the TV should be the same as the TV speakers. But this doesn't matter.
Huh.
Anyways,
we'll bring that back. Hey, Amazon, go ahead.
moving on from Amazon's weird soundbar. they announced a new Echo Hub. And actually, I don't know if this is a new product or a new version of it. I think it's a new product in general. But it's basically just an Echo Show, but it looks like you can mount it on your wall or something like that. So it's kind of like your smart home hub that you can just put where you want it and then control it how you want. It does work the same way that the Echo Show does, where it's got that infrared sensor. So when you walk up to it, it'll change what's on the screen to, show your home stuff, smart home stuff. And it does support Thread and Matter. So that's good because, all these smart home stuffs are starting to support Matter, which is the solution that all Google, Apple, and Amazon came up with to be able to tie everything together. So that's a good thing. And apparently they've made this thing so it can process stuff faster than the Echo Show. So they claim it's capable of turning on a light in 300 milliseconds. So that's good, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Sure.
So there you go. This one is currently not available for pre-order yet, but it will retail for $180 when it does launch later this year. Now on to non-Amazon branded things, but they own these companies. Blink, they came out with a new outdoor floodlight. This is the Blink Outdoor 4 floodlight. This is one of their battery-powered cameras attached to a floodlight. They're claiming up to 2 years of battery life on this camera, and they also announced with it a new battery extension pack that can double the battery life of the camera if you want. I'm not entirely sure how you charge this thing. If you take it out and I don't know. I would imagine the battery pack extension pack plugs into it somewhere, and then you can take that out and plug it in. I don't know. But
is the battery powering the floodlight too?
No, I believe it's the camera that is being powered by this. Whereas the floodlight, well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell.
So the floodlight has to be wired into mains power.
You would think
the battery pack is must just be like a battery backup for the camera, so that if the power goes out, then the camera still works. And then the battery recharges from the mains power that the floodlight is plugged into.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess.
Surely that's the way to do this that makes sense.
You would think. But I don't know.
Let's hope.
Another camera that has been announced was the Ring Stick-Up Cam Pro. Now, before you get too far into the naming, this is not something that pulls a gun out at you when you get too close to it and tells you to stick them up.
Okay,
No.
I'm not.
Well,
sold.
I'm not
I don't
interested
want-
then.
Yeah, I don't want it anymore.
Oh man, that would be
You can keep it, Ring.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways. Basically, it's just an outdoor Ring camera. It's got improved audio. It's got 3D motion detection, bird's eye zones, bird's eye view, and color pre-roll, as they say, for $180. And then, I'm going to save this one for later because it's my favorite, and well, not my favorite, but my favorite one to talk about. Another thing they talked about was the Echo Frames. I believe this is a second or third generation of these glasses that Amazon has come out with. Basically combines Alexa into sunglasses or prescription glasses or blue light glasses. They say the new frames have a better speaker design, so it makes it so the person wearing them can hear the speaker, hear what's being played better, or better, but also it doesn't. Other people outside of that aren't wearing them can't hear the audio as much. I don't know, but these Echo frames start at $270.
What the?
And that doesn't include a prescription if you need prescription lenses.
Wow.
Why? Why would anyone pay money for that? What?
Hey,
What?
if you want Alexa on your face, you can have Alexa on your face.
Look, if I want Alexa on my face, I'll just duct tape an Echo Dot to my forehead. Like, what the? This is the dumbest idea.
I want you to do that now, please.
I don't want Alexa on my face, though. Oh my gosh. Why would you pay $270 to carry around a microphone that lets Amazon know everything that they should feed you ads for? Like, that's just, it's like, honestly, Amazon, just send those people questionnaires, because they literally will just tell you everything about themselves, and you can save yourself the manufacturing cost of these glasses.
That's fair. But, you know, this is more fun for someone.
For us, I guess. I don't know.
The next thing they talked about was an updated Echo Pop Kids. Basically, this is a Echo Dot, or what is that what they call? What's the? I don't know what those small Echoes are called.
It's the Dot, I think, the little tiny one.
Yeah, it's a little bit different
puck.
than like the one that just like the little puck that's out there. And this kind of is propped up a little bit, but it's a new kids version. They have new character themes on this. They have one that's a Marvel Avengers characters and Disney princess characters. It's the same price as they were before, $50. You can pre-order these new character ones if you want. Again, don't buy them at full price, because that's just not smart. They do include 6 months of Amazon Kids Plus and character-specific content. Now, I don't know what all that includes, but there you go. And now, moving on to the last thing that I want to talk about, and something that I find very interesting and you should not buy, listener. A new Eero Max 7, as they're calling it. The new Eero router, Wi-Fi router. And the 7 comes into play because it features Wi-Fi 7, something that is not officially a thing yet. The standards for Wi-Fi 7 are not set at the moment.
Yeah, no.
But this will apparently be able to use Wi-Fi 7 somehow.
What?
Yeah. And it is also a mesh system if you want it to be, which, I mean, all the Eero routers can do that. But again, don't, because this thing starts at $600.
Wow.
Oh.
And you can buy it in a 1, 2, or 3 pack. So if you want to spend $1,800 on a 3 pack of routers, you can't. You have that option now.
What? I'm sorry.
It does feature 2 10 gig Ethernet ports, 2 2.5 gig Ethernet ports, and you can have over 200 connected devices.
I'm sorry. At that price, this thing had better include a frickin' live-in masseuse. Like,
I mean, that's fair.
Like, we just barely got Wi-Fi 6E.
Right?
What is Wi-Fi 7 going to do for us? Like,
I don't know. We don't know yet because the standards have not been set.
They haven't finalized the standard for that yet.
Yeah.
So, Amazon.
Yeah. So that's Amazon's event that they held. Like I said, did anyone notice, and does anyone really care?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely noticed, and I definitely don't really care. It took a lot for me to care enough to talk about it on the podcast.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
Let's move on,
Yes.
shall we? We're going to go down the list here. We're going to talk about something with Microsoft. Hey, the UK CMA provisionally approved the ABK deal. What does that mean?
We still have to wait till the end of October for it to actually be finalized. That's what that means.
Right. It's just silly because it's like they didn't really say it's approved. They're just like, hey, this looks like it might, but we'll let you know few weeks later. Like that's
Isn't that what they said
It's a-
last time?
no. Last time they said it looks good, and then they were like, no, we don't like it
Look,
because of the cloud gaming.
what's happening here is that all of these regulators in the UK are just colossally depressed and have a really hard time getting anything done in any reasonable amount of time
Oh,
because they have
goodness.
such a hard time dragging themselves out of bed in the morning. And it all comes down to the fact that none of their food is seasoned at all.
That's what it is.
You know,
That's
I
what
was
it is.
I was gonna say this is government in general, but then you added the food part, and that
No,
makes
it's-
that's a little more specific to them. Yes,
This
I'll
is
give
a
you that.
very specific British thing. None of their food
Yeah.
has seasoning, and that's the problem here. So I think we
Oh.
need to get a tanker full of salt and just send it care of
Best
the
regards.
UK government. Here, put this on your food. It'll cheer you up.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, that's the news. I mean, everybody was going haywire because of this, but I wanted to at least mention, hey, it's not exactly approved, so don't get too excited. I mean, I don't know. I'm ready for it to be done.
Oh, aren't we all?
We can move on. But yeah, anyways, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's nothing more to talk about until it finally is cash has been moved, I guess. Like that's it.
Yeah.
So that's what that is. So I'm sure you probably heard on if you're listening to any other tech things or seeing, oh, it's approved. Well, so let's go ahead and move on. We're going to get into some general tech news. We're going to talk really quick about another favorite company of
Yeah.
Spenlove's,
Oh,
Intel.
it's awesome. Love them.
Intel
Love
had an
them.
innovations event.
Yeah, the Intel Innovations 2023 event. They talked about a bunch of stuff, like, they were getting into their roadmaps for processor development and how things are looking over the next couple of years. They did not talk about their GPUs, which is, kind of sad. Would have been interesting to hear how their GPU development is going, because I'm still really hoping that this might actually turn into an actual pants competitor for NVIDIA and AMD, because the duopoly thing has really not been working out very well for the industry at large. They didn't, however. It was pretty much just processor and fab development stuff. That being said, if you happen to be running a server farm for whatever reason, listener, they talked about Xeon stuff. There's new Xeons coming. They did talk about how they are looking into modular chiplet design for their processors. So currently they use big little cores, right? Like the efficiency cores and the power cores and stuff. They're looking at putting those on separate chiplets in order to make the processor design a little bit easier to manage, a little bit cheaper. They talked a little bit about some of the processor fab enhancements they've been making, and how some of their future designs for chips may actually use like big little core designs where Intel themselves are fabbing all the big cores, and somebody like TSMC is fabbing the little cores, and then they're putting them, as part of their modular architecture and stuff. Anyways, that's all like 3, 4, 5 years down the road, most of that stuff. Really, the only thing that's like near term going to affect us is they did talk about the 14th generation Intel processors, which are going to be the last consumer processors that they sell on their current naming scheme, right? Where you have your i5s, your i7s, your i9s, and the, Core i whatever, 14 whatever, 100 something K or F or S or whatever, and all that nonsense that we've been having for the past few years. It's been getting increasingly harder to say some of the processor names, but they're about to change all of that with the next generation processors. And that's really dumb, and I don't like it. But anyways, that's not really what I'm here to talk about. 14th generation chips are basically just the 13th generation chips, except slightly refined. Little bit of few design improvements and enhancements and stuff here and there, slightly higher clock frequencies here, a little bit change up the way the big little core design relates to each other there, that kind of thing. Should be sitting on the same socket where it's going to be using the same, should this will be one of those situations where you actually can get, if you have a 13th generation motherboard, you should be able to get a BIOS update and drop a 14th generation chip into your existing motherboard if you would like to. So a little bit of back compatibility there, because this isn't a huge update to their processor line. I have one discussion question to go along with this talk about the 14th generation chips, which, it's Intel. They're talking, 6 gigahertz and more power, more speed, all this stuff. Do we think, in general, consumers, do we care more about power or efficiency at this point? Because you look at Apple, with Apple Silicon, they are leaning hard on the efficiency train. Like, their processors are powerful, and they do have really strong cores. And in fact, there was an interesting tidbit came out after Intel's event. The 14900K already has a ranking on the user benchmark charts, and they have, for the single core performance, they have the fastest single core on that benchmark, which, okay, pretty impressive. Things not even been released yet, so this isn't even like a finalized consumer level chip. But also on that chart, like about 5 places down, was the A17 Pro from the new iPhone.
Yeah.
Has like the 5th fastest core in the history of processors. So Apple does make very fast processors and apparently put them in their phones. So that's a thing. But in terms of overall grunt, when you add all the cores together and stuff like that, Intel makes more powerful chips than everybody other than AMD. And at the top end, they trade blows with each other for outright raw performance. But Apple has been leaning really heavily onto the efficiency of their processors. What matters more to more people at this point? Is more power important, or would more efficiency be better? What do we think?
Well, I think it all depends on who they're marketing to. So, Apple does push the efficiency card pretty heavy, but they do also push the power card in their events quite heavily. Now, in their marketing, they definitely push more of the efficiency because that matters to the general consumer. Intel, on the other hand, the people that care about looking up different specs on Intel products care about the power, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but the people that are looking at, because it's an Intel, like, they're not just saying, oh, it's got an Intel whatever processor, okay, whatever, I'll buy it. Those people don't care about power, and it's not marketed to them. The people that Intel actually market to, that you might see an ad for Intel, are going to be looking more for the power.
Right. Okay, but what about marketing aside? Like, what about forget about how these companies market the processors. For the average consumer, what's going to be most beneficial? Like a really high efficiency processor, like they would get with an Apple device, or a really powerful processor, like they would get from Intel. Like, what matters more to more people?
Definitely the efficiency when it comes to the average consumer, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with the efficiency. Even, I don't know, you can talk specs all you want, but it depends on the efficiency of how it runs the software on many cases. I mean, I guess I could come from the gaming side of things. I mean, you can really tell. I mean, the Xbox, we'll say Xbox and PlayStation. Obviously, Xbox has the higher, spec thing, but if the software's not efficient with it, it's not going to run very well.
Right. Well, and there's
so
that.
I
And I think that, like, in general, we've been seeing a larger industry trend toward mobile computing for pretty much any consumer, brand. A lot of people are replacing their computer with just their phone.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And, even in cases where they do still have a computer, they're moving a lot more towards thin and light laptops and tablets and that sort of thing, as opposed to having a powerful desktop computer or even a powerful mobile workstation style laptop.
Right.
And so I think, generally speaking, the average consumer cares more about the stuff that's going to benefit from an efficient processor than they do about the power they might be losing because of that. I think that more power is good, but the average consumer would rather have more battery life or would rather have less time to charge or, that sort of thing. It's like they want the computer to be fast enough to do what they need it to do. But also, if it's the difference between like, you can have this, this workload get done 5% faster, or you can have an extra hour and a half to 2 hours of battery life. I think most people would go for the battery rather than the 5% performance enhancement, even like a 10% performance enhancement. And like, when you're talking about the extremes between some of these things, like if you're looking at like a fairly bog standard $700 to $1,000 Windows laptop, it, is going to do anything that anybody wants it to do. And you compare that to a MacBook Air, they're both, they're great computers. They're going to do what everybody wants them to do. Nobody's like, the average consumer is not going to pick up either of those and have any real major complaints. But on the Windows side, you're going to be getting a laptop that has, if you're lucky, 8 to 10 hours of battery life. Whereas on the Mac side, you're getting 18 to 20 hours of battery life, like literally almost double. Mm-hmm. And I think that the vast majority of your average consumer would rather have that. And kind of like, I've actually been saying this for quite some time. The reason that Apple doesn't sell absolute boatloads of laptops to average consumers is because they don't have any that are cheap enough. If they were to have a $500 to $700 laptop, that thing would sell like crazy. Because just being able to, against competing Windows laptops in that price range, say, 18 hours of battery life, that's all most people need. That's like the most important stat for the vast majority of consumers. So it's just really interesting to like see Intel talking about the performance specs of their processors and all that kind of thing, and think that they are placing so much emphasis on this thing that it matters, like Landon was saying, it matters most to the people who are looking at it, because the people who aren't looking at it, obviously this thing does not matter to them at all. And the only people who are looking care, they're the people who care about this sort of thing, but they place so much emphasis on it. And it's this thing that just does not matter for like hardly any of the 90%, like 90% of the consumers that are going to end up with an Intel device over the next year. None of them care about the stuff that Intel was talking about in this event. Because like Intel really didn't sit on like, oh yeah, here's our most efficient chip and here's how we expect it to be used in laptops and mobile devices over the next year and stuff like that. Or here's our best watt power ratio processor for use in gaming systems that's going to save you X amount of electricity over the next year or something like that. Like they weren't talking about that at all. They just didn't really mention it in any of the like main keynotes. And
I would also say that that 90% of people that are buying an Intel product or an Intel inside for I hate that I said that product, but aren't going for that high end power.
Right.
Most people I know, if they come to me, they like, I need a new Windows laptop. What should I get? I'm like, minimum. Well, I would say for most people, I would usually recommend an i5. An i3 would be okay for most people, but I still say an i5 because it is a little more powerful and it's going to be a little more efficient. So you're getting a win-win in both scenarios in most cases. And that's all they care. That's all they look at. They look at the processor name because they know, well, they can't do that anymore, but They
Yeah,
knew
not
it
after this-
forever.
not after this
i3 was the bottom end. i5, they don't need the i7 because it's just too big and it costs more. Or nowadays, or was the case, the i9, they're like, oh, I definitely don't need that. So most people would just look for the 5, be like, okay, that's what I need because I know that'll do what I need it to do. So again, like it goes back to my argument before. It's like the people that Intel is marketing to in this type of event aren't the average consumer. And so they're going to talk about the high-end performance. Whereas the people like Apple events, not the average, but not the power users, like that mid-grade, middle ground people do watch those events. Whereas
yeah.
Intel events, the only people watching those are people like us, people that kind of
Yes.
actually care about that and want to know these numbers. So I get why they're pushing that as hard, but I mean, you are definitely right. Most people definitely want more efficiency than they do power, but it just goes again to who is watching these events / who they want their primary consumer to be.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the interesting dichotomies that you run into a lot in like just coverage of technology as a whole.
Right.
Because the loudest voice is the one that, the customer, the companies that are making the products have this concept. They're going to spill it out to the people who are going to provide press coverage of that thing. They're going to emphasize the parts that will get the best coverage from those people. And then those people are supposed to turn around and spread that knowledge to the masses, right? They're supposed to disperse that out to the average consumers out there. And it's just baffling to me because the people who are doing the covering of these events are the people who are we're the tech folks. We're the ones that are interested. We're the people that are all like, heck yeah, power, woohoo, how many gigahertz can that do? Awesome. What's the teraflops of that GPU and stuff like that. And that's what the companies tell us. And then we turn around and tell that to consumers. And then consumers are sitting here like, yeah, but what's the battery life of this laptop going to be? It's like, It's got to be really frustrating to be the average consumer and be like, oh, you know what? I do need a new laptop. And then you turn around and start trying to shop. And no wonder they all come to us asking for advice. None of the articles online are telling them anything useful. They're all covering like, yeah, Intel talked about their 14900K at this event and it's super powerful and all this great stuff. And they're all like, that's nice, but like, I just need something cheap that gets good battery life and, does web browsing real good. And yes, listener, that's why your relatives are all absolutely perfectly happy with their iPhones, because they are dead simple and predictable to a fault. And yes, it's obnoxious to you. I get that. But that's what they're looking for, They're just looking for a thing that works predictably every day. And that's it. Anyways, that's all I really had to say about that. It was an event. I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting question that came to mind while I was reading up on what they had covered.
I think overall efficiency. All right, well let's continue on. We're going to kind of go into more gaming. The big one of the big ones, I guess. I wanted to bring up Unity. They announced a new fee. And then quickly changed their mind because of feedback.
So basically, this was Unity shot themselves in the foot and then amputated that foot at the hip and then immediately went hunting for prosthetics to try and fix this situation. That's what happened, figuratively.
Yeah. So, there's so much kind of to it. Basically, what they were saying was like any type of Unity runtime fee will charge once per new install. So anytime a game that is using Unity is installed, not played, installed onto any device, that developer would get charged by Unity.
Yeah.
And that goes for all the older games and all the stuff that was under contract already.
Yep.
As well as, for example, say the big one everyone was talking about was about Game Pass. Like, people use Game Pass to test games if they like it or not, whether they buy it or not. And so, I mean, I've done it. I've downloaded Starfield. I haven't started it.
Oh, heck yeah. No, that's it is once again still just sitting on my hard drive waiting for me to find out how bad it is. Like,
I'm not saying Starfield's on Unity, but
no, it's not.
So anyway, so that's kind of the big thing, was they were just going to, and a lot of developers like that, if we hop on Unity and do this, it's no longer going to be beneficial to us. So
yeah. Well, and it was basically, they're like, yeah, anytime you have an install, it's going to be a small fee. And it was talking of like a couple of cents per install or something like that.
Like 1 cent to 20 cents.
But the way that they initially announced it left a whole lot of questions open. People are all like, yeah, okay, so what if I have a game that's not selling units, it's not particularly profitable or something like that, and I, put it in a charity bundle like the Humble Bundle or something like that.
Yep.
I see absolutely zero profit from those sales because the money is going to charity, but then a whole bunch of people then download the game. Am I going to get charged for all of these downloads? Like, Unity didn't say whether or not that was going to happen. And they're all like, and what if a whole bunch of people like want to like grief the developer or something like that? They can buy the game once and then just download, uninstall, download, uninstall, download, uninstall, and do that over and over again just to ramp up the charges that the developer is going to have to pay. Unity didn't say whether or not that was going to have an effect, and so on and so forth. And like, Unity kind of responded back to some of those things. It's all like, no, we'll totally, like, we're not going to charge you for charity downloads. We're not going to charge, like, if somebody's griefing, we're going to catch that. They didn't enumerate details of how they were going to do any of that stuff. And the backlash from the entire community was so instantaneous and so offended that they kind of rolled it back. They're like, okay,
we're sorry.
We're gonna change everything about this fee that we just announced, and we'll kind of get back to you on what the new details are gonna be.
What they said the Unity Personal will remain free with no runtime fees. And Unity is raising the cap from $100,000 to $200,000 and will no longer require games to display a Made with Unity splash screen. No games with under 1 million in annual revenues will need to pay a fee. For those on Unity Pro or Enterprise, Unity will impose no fees on games that are currently shipping or in development. Instead, its new runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next LTS versions of Unity shipping in 2024 and beyond. They said, that said, developers who choose to upgrade existing titles to that coming version of Unity will be subjected to the fee. For those games that are subject to a fee, Unity will now offer two options: a 2.5% revenue share, or a calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with the game each month.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot more nuanced now, which I think was the issue before.
Yeah.
Like, the initial announcement was just like, there's no nuance to this. It's just, here's a new fee at a couple of different price points for how much money you've made off the game. And everyone was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And like, it applies to retroactively to all of my games that I've made with Unity, like, up to this point. What the heck, guys? Like, it just came out of nowhere. And yeah. And look, as a gamer, I like games. I like playing games. It's good. Games are good. But I also respect and understand that the people who make the games that I play don't do all of the work to make the game enjoyable. Like, their Unity as a game engine, like Unreal Engine and various other engines and stuff like that power games. And so through this whole thing, I've been trying to, like, okay, how much respect do I have for the people who make the engine versus the people who make the game? You know? Because, like, the game mechanics and the game design are the things that make the game fun.
Yep.
But an aspect of the fun is how good the engine is. And so, I don't know. Like, it's been a really kind of, like, I've been torn because I'm not in the game development space, so I didn't have that initial, like, gut reaction that all the game developers had to this announcement. Understandable reaction, frankly,
Yeah.
I think, from them. But also, you know, Unity wants to make more money for the work that they've been doing, and it's capitalism. I don't necessarily begrudge them the ability to do that. So, I don't know. I've been really torn on who I've felt sorry for through all of this. Was it the game developers who kind of had the rug pulled out from under them? Or was it Unity, who basically had an entire community of people that they rely on for support turn around and tell them, no, you're not allowed to make more money off of the work that you do?
That is a tough one.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to land on that one.
I don't know either. I didn't think of it that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, unless anyone has anything else to talk about Unity, we'll move on. No? Okay. So, Microsoft Xbox roadmap was leaked. Yeah, so what had happened is Microsoft went to, okay, it's not Microsoft themselves. I guess it's their legal department. Went to load a document, all the documents for the FTC, and I guess they didn't get the memo to black out things they didn't want things to be seen, or at least let the FTC know, hey, block this out or anything. I don't know. Anyway,
from
Microsoft
what I heard,
did it.
They basically uploaded all the files into the wrong Google Drive folder. Like, they accidentally put them in the one that was visible to the public instead of the one that wasn't.
Okay, fair enough. So that leaked. A lot of these things were dated in May 2022. So this is kind of a lot of these files. And so we're going to kind of dive into this one thing at a time. We'll talk about it. The first thing that I have on here that was leaked was with the code name Brooklyn, was the Xbox Series X refresh that supposedly is coming in 2024. So I don't know what Microsoft's fascination with other household items is, but they're going from a refrigerator to water. What was I going to say? Water purifier in the air.
I was going to say trash can because it looks like a 2013 Mac Pro. That's what
I don't know. You put a little steam on the top of it, may look like one of them air purifiers in the air. You know.
I mean, yeah, but that's what the 2013 Mac Pro was. It was like convection fed, like fan at the top, blowing a cylinder. Yep. Good job, Microsoft. You've reinvented the cylinder.
There you go. So let's talk a little bit more. We'll give some more details that they talked about. They said this is going to be supposedly coming in 2024. Now, let's take this with a grain of salt. A lot of these stuff has not happened that was supposed to. So obviously, we get pandemic things, whatever. All these things were reshuffled. Things, so
yeah.
I mean, may not be the same.
These presentations are over a year old at this point, and so design stuff is going to change. Is not necessarily going to be exactly as pictured. But they were far enough along in development of this thing that it does at least suggest that we're not going to be seeing like a Series X Pro or something like that, right? Like what we're going to get is instead just a chassis redesign that is quote unquote the Slim, right? This is going to be the Series X Slim, except
in a sense,
not actually slimmer.
Yeah, it'll have a couple other things. So let's get into that. So they did say that it's going to be priced at $499. So it's going to be the same price.
Yeah.
On there. So cool. The new console will have this cylindrical design, and it will come with a 2 terabyte of internal storage.
Yes.
Which, good. Yeah, that's great.
That's especially good because they're getting rid of the disk drive.
I was getting there.
Yeah, that's
That is good. Well, I mean, let's be real. Okay, disk drives.
it's on its way out for sure.
It's on its. Let's be real. It's on its
like
way out.
on
But
the
this
console.
is the thing.
Yeah,
When you buy a game disc nowadays and you put it in, it's whatever console, it's PlayStation, anyone. You put it in, you're downloading the whole game. The only thing
Pretty
that
much.
disc is a license to say you can play it.
yeah.
So-
Well, I mean, the disc includes like 70 gigs of game data on it, and
Some don't.
probably they put like I don't know what part of the game they're putting on there, because like giant flagship games are way bigger than 70 gigs at
Yes.
this point. So like even if there weren't day one patches and stuff like that for the game, which there are for every game now, even if there weren't, you were still only getting like 3/4 of the game, even if it's a smaller game, and you still have to download an extra 30 gigs to just get the rest of
Exactly.
the game. So it's but that being said, there is game data on the disc that it's all just going to end up on your hard drive now, becoming digital anyways. And the game discs were on their way out. It is kind of a bummer for the folks that are like, I want this to be the center of my home theater setup, because now it won't
Yes,
play
it is.
Blu-rays and stuff like that. So that's a shame,
Mhm.
but that's okay. The writing has been on the wall for that for a while. You probably just need to go invest in a Blu-ray player.
Well, the
Well,
same
and-
argument can be had there. The disc is going away in that regard as well.
It's-
So.
It is. I
Yeah.
don't think it's ever going to fully go away. I think that, there's going to be a market for physical
Yeah.
media for home movies. But
Right.
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Like nothing else is going to be
Yeah.
using that here in the near future.
I have two things on this aspect of it, though, that I want to mention before we move on.
Okay.
I love in this marketing material that was leaked that it says, now adorably all
Adorable.
digital. That's like,
Yeah, it's
that's
adorable.
the word you chose?
That was the
That's-
word. Yeah.
I mean, the only way it could have been worse is if they said now courageously all digital, but they didn't use that.
Yep.
Phil.
That would have been
Phil.
that would have
Oh,
been
geez.
fantastic. But what I want to see now that we're going away from this disc type product, which this you couldn't fit a disc drive in this anyways with the shape, which is funny because it's an Xbox, it's not a box.
Yeah. No.
But what I want
It
to
is a
see,
tube.
bringing this full circle to our SD card thing, is I want companies to start selling games on SD cards. I mean, you could do this theoretically yourself. You could just buy a bunch of SD cards, download the game, and load it onto the SD card, and then take it in and out. But here's this. It's like going back to the '90s where you put a cartridge in
I mean,
Cartridge.
to play a
that's
game.
what the Switch uses.
Yeah. See,
Right.
there you go.
Yeah,
So you
basically.
could just start doing that with all of your consoles. It's like, let me grab my bag full of SD cards. It's now my bag of game cartridges. It's
There
just-
you go.
That would be fantastic. And then you don't have to worry about having 2 terabytes of hard drive space on your Xbox, because you just get a 500 gig SD card that has 1 game on it, and there you go.
There you go.
It'd save you a lot of money.
True.
Well, I guess not in the sense
Well-
that if this starts at 2 terabytes, it's not saving you money. But you could
Yeah,
buy
right.
one currently, the cheapest model you can get with less hard drive space, not have to upgrade the hard drive. If you can get an SD card plugged into it somehow. I mean, they have USB ports. You could just get an SD card reader, and there you go.
True. Okay. Well, we're gonna add some more to this. Additional to the 2 terabyte of internal storage, they are going to have a USB-C port on the front that supports power delivery, and 2 USB-A ports on the back.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting because, I don't have an Xbox Series X. They really don't have a front USB port?
No, they have a front USB-A. They have one in the front
Oh,
and then 2 in the back. So they're just
Okay.
replacing the one in the front with a
with a
USB-C.
USB-C. Okay. I was sitting there like, they really expect you to use the rear USB ports to charge your controller. That's their... what? I was so confused
Yeah.
at that moment where I saw that. I was like, they're like, oh yeah, now it's a USB. They got a front USB-C port. And I'm like, did it not have USB
it
on the front
does.
before?
It does.
I was like concerned. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, Xbox players, are you okay?
No, it's there.
That's good.
Don't get me started on the controller thing again. please.
So it also says that this refreshed Xbox Series X will also be customizable through the Xbox Design Labs.
Ah, yes.
Which
Now, if you
I
can't
kinda
get one
think
made out of
that's
wood,
cool.
then they're failing.
No, I think it's kind of cool because a lot of people, they always want that designer console. So like, oh, Halo's coming out, so get the Halo console. Or I remember back in 360, you could get the Xbox 360, but it was R2D2 or C3PO
Ooh.
bundled with the Star Wars stuff.
Hey, and
Could
with
I
it
get
being
the-
cylindrical, that makes it even better.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this is actually pretty cool. I mean, everyone's customizing their controllers, and they're always begging for the whatever, Starfield console or the Gears of War console or whatever.
So, could I get a Johnny Ive version of this thing and just have it red?
Oh my gosh, how cool!
'Cause that would be
Yes.
amazing.
It's got to be
Maybe
either
we'll see what
all
happens.
aluminum or all red. One of those two.
Yes, I figure all red, right? Like that was the special Johnny Ive designed like charity version of the Mac Pro was just, it was red. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, he put in so much work for this charity piece. Like,
all right. Microsoft said they will also add Wi-Fi 6E support to this new Series X, as well as Bluetooth 5.2, which is interesting because that will be the first on an Xbox console having Bluetooth. So cool. It also said that in the presentation that it will also have a new Xbox Wireless 2 protocol, which it says to protocol to connect other Xbox controllers and other accessories. And didn't have too much detail on that, but I think, as we'll see, there's actually a controller that was leaked as well, which we'll get into here soon, which might... There's a reason, I think, for this, but that's just me thinking, but we'll get to it. They say that it's not really going to be any more powerful than the original X. You'll get the same amount of computing and everything, but they did say that it will come with a more power efficient 6-nanometer SoC that will reduce power by 15%.
yeah, Sony's actually already made that change to the PS5.
I was going to say, I think Sony did. I think I heard it, that was because they already did that like a little bit ago, wasn't it? They had their first generation of PS5, and then like a year later, they're like, okay, here's the new generation.
Well, they've actually been through 2 redesigns of the PS5, just like under the hood. They
Is that what it was?
swapped
Okay.
up the internals, and the second one they did a process node shrink on the processor, so it's a tiny bit more efficient. Not any faster, not any more compute, just a little bit more efficient.
Yeah. So then they also talked about a new Xbox Series S, codenamed Elliewood, and that refresh will also be coming in 2024. Microsoft did already release the new carbon black Xbox Series X recently with the 1 terabyte storage, but apparently this one will have all the new features. So it'll have the 1 terabyte storage, but it will have the Wi-Fi 6, the Bluetooth, and the Xbox Wireless 2 protocol on top of that. So it didn't mention if it had that 6-nanometer on there, but
I mean, they're using different silicon in the Series S anyways, so I don't know.
Okay, so let's move on to the new controller. They said that it's going to be a new, I want to say, Elite controller, which is, the code name to this is Sebile, S-E-B-I-L-E, Sebile?
Sybil, I think.
Sybil. All right, sure. While the ergonomics of are similar to the controllers, the new controller will use new module thumbsticks, delivering improved longevity, and it will fix the drift issues, which a lot of people have said there's a lot of drift issues on the Elite controllers right now, the new one. It will also come with a rechargeable and swappable battery, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is good.
And then the new controller will have an accelerometer to improve immersion in games, which I believe that's basically the Sony one, right?
Yeah,
Sony's,
it's just,
they have that.
it's a DualSense 5. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
I mean, why not?
It just
So
They just went for the DualSense, which is fair. Sony handily leapfrogged them on the controller design with the DualSense. So
maybe they
need to
just
catch
bought
up.
a DualSense, tore it apart, took the guts, and put it in a
They just
case
threw
for
it
us.
in there.
just rip the
Oh.
haptics out of that and you're like, okay, we're taking these.
No, I thought this was interesting. It says here that the presentation also mentions that the VCA haptics double as a speaker.
I mean, yeah, you got good enough haptics, you can make noise with that. That's
So you can have a speaker on your controller. So that's
Yeah.
cute.
I mean, that's
The
kind of how
accelerometer-
the
go ahead.
sound worked on old consoles back in the day. It wasn't a speaker. It was
True.
more of a vibrating type thing inside the,
True.
Yep.
you know.
They also said the accelerometer will also add support for a new lift to wake compatibility on the Xbox console. So you just pick up the controller, then it wakes up the console.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming that's PlayStation. I don't know if PlayStation has. I don't know.
PlayStation does not have that. That would be a first. And I
don't
think
know.
that's kind of hilarious because that means that when your mom comes by and picks up your controller to put it like over, on the
It's
coffee
gonna
table or
turn
something
on.
like that while she's vacuuming off the couch, it's going to turn on the Xbox.
That's one of those features that's going to get turned off rather quickly. I mean, initially people are like, oh, that's so cool. I'm going to have it on all the time. And then they go to do something like that, just move it away. Oh, crap.
I
Yeah.
really hope they're using some kind of a neural net that's been trained to recognize different style. Like if it's like sitting stationary and then it's moving for like 2 seconds and then it's sitting stationary again, it'll be like, okay, nope, that was,
Yeah.
we'll stay off.
I guess we'll see what happens. I mean,
we'll find out. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I'm interested to see how it goes.
And listener, keep in mind, everything we're talking about is subject to change and
Yes.
potentially will
Yes.
because this is
May-
a
may
year and a
have
half old
already
document.
changed.
Yeah, this is a year and a half old document that is, definitely probably has changed. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. We don't know. But
Yeah, we
it's
don't know.
probably already changed.
we're going to talk more. So the controller, this will support the new Xbox Wireless 2 protocol, the Bluetooth 5.2, and as well as a new direct connection to Microsoft's Xbox Cloud gaming servers. So similar to Google, which used the similar technology in Stadia and
Yeah.
Amazon's Luna controller, it will also have a similar direct to cloud connectivity.
Wow. I just forgot Luna was a thing again.
I know, right?
Gosh,
you
dang
could
it.
just say Stadia and then it's done. You don't have to add.
I know. I
It's like-
forget every time somebody mentions Luna. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that's cool. I mean, a controller that can do that direct connect. I heard a lot of people love that Stadia controller. So, if that can help with your cloud gaming anyway, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So, they also said that according to the presentation, the controller was supposed to launch in May 2024. So, yeah, next year. We'll see.
My favorite feature that I'm seeing on this little thing about the controller is the wording of seamless pair and switch. Now, does that mean it's going to be easier than what it was before? I don't know, but it gives me hope for you console players.
I'm assuming. So the thing they have right now is, so if you've connected, obviously, your controller to an Xbox, but then you wanted to connect it to, say, your PC or phone, it now has an option instead of doing turn on the Bluetooth, show it to pair. It'll keep the last profile. So all you have to do is tap the button at the top, and then it will switch to the other profile for you. So it's like, oh, I'm on my phone, turn it on, and then tap the button, switch to that profile. So maybe this is a more smarter. I don't know. I heard that Bluetooth 5.2 is pretty darn smart on stuff like that. So maybe that has integration plus the.
Well, I'm thinking though is I'm going back to my rant about pairing controllers. I mean, it's so stupid. I'm sorry, but I'm hoping that between the new wireless connectivity that they're bringing into this between Bluetooth and the direct-to-cloud type stuff means it'll be a lot easier to pair. Again, probably with new consoles. It won't do this with older consoles, but it'll be easier to pair with newer consoles, hopefully, for your sake.
Maybe.
Again, it's not going to benefit me at all because I'm not going to buy one, but I'm hoping it'll just benefit the community in general. Because
I'll let you know when it comes out. How's that? More to come. So that's that hardware. We're going to move on. We're going to talk just real quick. They did say that they're targeting a 2028 for its next gen Xbox. So the holy next gen in 2028. They said that they were considering either the ARM64 SoC or a traditional x64 Zen 6 built by AMD.
Really interesting. Like this whole either we're going to be doing another partnership with AMD and Zen 6. Like, oh, interesting, because they also said they were looking at doing big little core design for their CPU, which does that mean that Zen 6 is potentially going to have big little design? Because current AMD Ryzen processors do not use that design schema. So, okay, interesting, maybe little tidbits into what AMD is planning for their timeline of products. But then also the suggestion that they are actually looking into ARM.
Yeah.
Like, that would have major implications for backwards compatibility and cross compatibility with PC. Like, major implications. So,
The only thing I'd be worried about with that is look at how Microsoft did when it came to getting Windows on ARM. That failed miserably.
Exactly.
So not that this would, but that just doesn't give me hope based on past experiences.
The track record isn't great.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is way later, so who knows? But this is just what they said.
Yep. Though, actually, like, based on the timeline that they had on there, they'll be deciding, like, they'll be finishing up their research and deciding which one it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
Like, sometime end of this year, beginning of next year was when they had they said, basically, we need to make this decision by this point so that we can work on designing the actual console to have it ready for 2028.
I mean, also, I mean, with the updated version that comes out in May, that is everything about that is finalized. The documents we have may not be the finalized version, but everything about it at this time is like it was finalized in May of this year, so it could be sold in May of next year. So, I mean, this came out of May, or was dated May of 2022. Again, that stuff's not going to be finalized, but the product as it stands, or as it will come out, is finalized. It's just a matter of whether this stuff is accurate or not.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of it too. A lot of it too. They did say that they wanted this to be another one of those cloud to edge architecture. So basically, we'll support cloud hybrid games.
Yeah,
more. So, I mean, besides? I know they were toting about obviously Crackdown 3 being a cloud thing, but that was kind of let's throw that out the window. The one cloud thing and AI thing I thought was really good. I don't play it a lot, but I was like, that's cool. Was Microsoft Flight Simulator that did some of that hybrid stuff, but I don't know. I haven't played anything else that does something like that. So cloud to edge. I don't
really
know
anything else. Like they were like, oh yeah, this technology, and they launched the multiplayer for Crackdown, right? Like it wasn't even the main game; it was just the multiplayer. And then Flight Simulator, and that was it. Like,
I can't think of any other.
I think that they've realized because, I played the multiplayer for Crackdown 3, and listener, if you would like my full thoughts on it, you can go watch the YouTube video about it.
Yep.
But basically, people's internet connections were not ready for that.
No.
Like, they just were not ready to be to be sharing that level of compute with a cloud server for real-time gameplay in an action-packed game. That kind of thing works okay with Flight Simulator because it's a lot more sim, it's a simulator.
Well, they didn't have the Eero 7 with Wi-Fi 7 yet, so
that's
what it was.
That's the problem, definitely. Yeah,
that's exactly
Amazon has solved it for us. and that'll be ready to go by the next gen. Yep, that's it.
I mean, we have thoughts of how we'd want like cloud stuff to work, because obviously, I mean, for a role playing game or something like that, like a Baldur's Gate, and to have just AI just continuously make quests for you, like, would be pretty dope.
I mean, you can get that in Skyrim right now, actually.
I think, yeah, I heard about that too.
There are people that have created several mods that will basically just chat GPT, and you have an NPC that follows you around and is controlled by chat GPT, and you can carry on full-on conversations with them and stuff like that that are really funny, some of them.
That's funny.
Because, like, I think the standard, like, setup is that this NPC is, like, extremely sarcastic and kind of, like, belligerent. So it's like constantly making fun of your player character and stuff like that. Anyways, you can already do that. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more stuff like that integrated into games in the future.
Yep. Oh, and that's what the hardware was mentioned on this, though. We're going to get into some of the games. I just kind of want to mention a few of these with the fiscal year and the things that are to come on there that, I mean, Microsoft didn't really say no, it's not coming, or it's more of along the lines of when now. The when has changed, not really it's not or yes. So, for example, they were saying on here that in 2021, Starfield was supposed to be released. So this is how old that document and what they were trying to say was. A lot of these, you know, so the ones I thought was interesting is this year that Indiana Jones game was supposed to be released in 2022. We haven't seen anything on that yet. No. They also said that an Oblivion remaster was supposed to happen. Yeah.
No. Bethesda can't remaster anything but Skyrim. This is a well-documented fact.
But also this year, the Starfield DLC was supposed to be released.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
Good timing.
One thing I did see in 2023, the new Doom Year Zero and DLC was supposed to, so a new Doom game.
Apparently.
On there.
What do you mean Year Zero? Like,
yeah, it's what it says, Doom Year Zero.
Before Hell? Because, like, what's that going to be?
Maybe it's a recreation of Doom.
Just a Marine, like, just on, like, Earth, living his life, doing normal, chill things, not fighting aliens or demons. That sounds pretty boring.
Yeah.
Gardening.
That's it.
They did say that
he's trying to figure out how to run Doom on a potato by planting a bunch of potatoes.
That's what it is. He's like, I'm trying to figure this out.
Doom-themed Stardew Valley. That's it.
Oh, jeez. All right. Next year, well, according to this, 2024, the next Elder Scrolls was supposed to be released, which I believe they said just hit pre-production. So that's a little off.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
They said a Fallout 3 remaster is supposed to be next year.
Nope.
They did say a Dishonored 3 is supposed to happen next year as well.
Oh.
So,
was that before or after Dishonored 2 was released? Actually, I guess that's a better question. It was obviously before Redfall was released. So
yeah, is that the same studio that did that one?
Yeah.
Isn't there's two Arcanes, I thought.
So, I mean, there's two Arcanes, but they're...
Because one did Deathloop, and the other one did... Yeah. You know, they bounce. So that's why I was wondering, is that... I can't remember.
Well, right. But I mean, it's like one of them does the Dishonored, like, game, and the other one does a Dishonored DLC kind of thing. And
yeah.
So, yeah, one of them did Deathloop, one of them did Redfall, but it's... like, they're fairly integrated there. I think, I don't know what the problem with Redfall was, but actually, I'm pretty sure the problem with Redfall was they weren't intending to release Redfall. And
yeah, they were hoping that when the merger happened, Microsoft would cancel it. But Microsoft's like, no, we trust you. Go for it. They were like, oh, balls.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, basically Microsoft was like, oh, no, yeah, we need an Xbox exclusive out of you as soon as we possibly can. And you've already got a contract for Deathloop to be on PlayStation, so we can't change that. But yeah, you take this one and just finish it real fast. And they're like, okay.
Yep.
Did not work out.
So that's all that for the hardware and the games. One thing I did want to kind of mention, I guess a lot of people are saying that there was another email leak saying that Phil Spencer did mention about buying Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of read it and I was like, oh, I mean, it just sounds like it was just two people talking like, oh, wouldn't that be cool to buy Nintendo? Yeah, it would be career defining.
Yeah,
actually.
basically Phil Spencer just idly musing about the things he would love to be able to do in the future, included not only conversations about buying Blizzard and Activision, but also buying Nintendo and Valve.
Yeah, Valve. Yeah,
I was like, no, sorry, man. Like, that's never gonna, like, Valve is never going to be available as a publicly traded company or available for sale to a publicly traded company until Gabe Newell is dead and rotting in his grave.
Yeah.
He will never let that happen.
Dude.
And he'll probably put it in his will that can't happen.
Oh, probably. No, like, whoever he picks to follow him up in the management of Valve, he's going to be like, look, if you sell this company to Microsoft, I will come back. And I will kill you in your sleep. Back. It's going to be like a full-on grudge situation there. Like, you will have 7 days after that merger happens, and I am going to do the ring girl walk out of your TV and strangle you. Like,
that's literally what's going to happen. But yeah, so I mean, with everything said, Caleb, do you have anything else on this? Or
I have one question for you, Wes.
Oh, what's up?
Is this better or worse? The new cylinder. Is this better or worse than if it had been an actual slim console?
When you say slim, just a smaller box, just a smaller fridge?
just an Xbox Series X that is in like the same form factor as the Series S or something. It's just a smaller, like more compact, because from the looks of things, the cylinder is going to be like more compact in the way that, like, cutting all the corners off of it obviously removes a bunch of space, but otherwise it's going to be pretty similar size.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think about that?
So I could see, so for me, I really don't care. I do like the idea of having the USB-C in the front. I don't use discs. Like, I haven't bought a digital game, or I'm sorry, I haven't bought a disc in years. Like,
fair.
I just don't. So that to me is fine, but I do understand someone that can't, so someone that has a furniture that they put their Xbox in, that they like turning it to the side. This would not be good because it would just roll off.
It's just going to roll out.
So I can understand that argument. Like, yeah, I fully get that. But, for something like that, for me, okay. I mean,
it just cracks me up that
they went
funny to redesign an Xbox and there's no X, there's no box. What is this thing? It's a
out of all of them, but then it is funny. It's just a silly. So that's why I kind of was like, I'm not going to take it too seriously because I don't feel that's the end. I don't know.
They need to change. They can change the name from Xbox to O-Tube.
O-Tube. Yes.
Oh dear.
I don't know. O-Tube. The Xbox O-Tube.
No Xbox. The O-Tube Series O.
The Series O. Oh my God. If they call it the Series O, Landon, you get a cake. You get a freaking cake.
Oh, that's awful.
How about you? What do you think, Caleb?
I try not to. I still.
I mean, like, you're a PC person.
I still look at the Xbox Series X and I see the G4 Cube. And I look at this new redesign and I see the 2013 Mac Pro trash can. And I can't help but think in my head that these were Apple's least successful desktop computer designs ever.
Yeah.
So that means this 2028 hardware that comes out that's going to be a new version, update, like new console, is a cheese grater.
Oh my
Except
gosh.
It's going to be shaped like a literal cheese grater. It's going to be like one of those tower ones.
It'll have a handle too.
That has, yeah, and then has like
portable
holes down both sides of it.
It's going to be a backwards GameCube. Remember the GameCube had a handle on the back?
There was a handle on the back of that.
Yep.
That's right. Look, I'm in favor of stuff like electronics that have integrated handles.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember when the GameCube came out, it was the same time that Apple came out with their laptops that had a handle. It was that era.
Exactly.
Oh, it was.
That
yes.
clamshell iBook is still the best designed laptop they've ever released. I will die on this hill.
Man, I don't know. I guess the other thing is, how could you? I mean, if they get this out of the way, they'd be like, here's a cylinder one. Then it forces them to think of something else. Like we've done the box, or we've done the flat box with the X on it when we originally came out. Then we did the one that looks like, a nice, like, kind of VCR up and down, the 360. But then we redid it, made it smaller, and that. And then they did the VCR actual Xbox One, and then did better on that. And then this is just a fridge. So if they can get the cylinder out,
then they get the cylinder.
So what's next? Like
a pyramid.
It's either a pyramid or a literal square.
The next one's a pyramid with
square.
a little eye at the top.
The X. It's not an I, it's an X.
That's it. There's a jewel in
and
the
it's
clear
green.
top. Then it's a green X jewel up there. Yep.
Like, I don't know where else they would go. Like, obviously this would be the Slim. It's quick, but like, how do you? I don't know. I mean, even looking at the PlayStation, like.
Oh, man.
It's so funny. My favorite part of that, I don't know if you ever watched do you watch Dragon Ball Z? They said the PlayStation 5 looks like the character on there, and then his name's Cell. It's his hat.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It is.
It literally looks like his hat.
Yeah, no, I've never actually watched Dragon Ball Z, but I have watched Dragon Ball Z abridged on YouTube. So
Which is
I do know who Cell is,
but it's like looks like his hat, and so it's like, what? How do you move on from? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
That was the most dead end design of any piece of electronics I have ever seen. The PlayStation 5. Like, at some point they're going to redesign it. Supposedly it's going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro. So it'll be bigger somehow. It's going to be the size of your TV. I don't know. Like,
who knows? Who knows?
Already such a gigantic console.
Who knows? Landon, did you have anything else on the subject?
Well, I did, but okay. This listener, now that my input when it comes to gaming is definitely usually not worth listening to unless it's about controllers, apparently. But
it's worth. Come on.
I had the thought when Caleb mentioned a pyramid style device. My millennial brain went to The Office. They're gonna, instead of the console, it's gonna be a handheld like the Saber Pyramid that was in The Office.
Geez.
It's gonna be a handheld gaming device that's a tablet in shape of a pyramid, like how it was on The Office.
On The Office. Oh my gosh! Yeah,
that's going to be Xbox's first handheld gaming.
That's going to be their handheld.
Device. Yeah,
the pyramid.
That's it.
Which actually, if you looked on the timeline with all the devices, it shows a handheld.
Oh dear!
It actually shows a handheld on there. So,
okay, if that's just a knockoff of Sony's new handheld, then I think,
oh, dude,
we can all agree.
They better not do
just
that.
Don't.
No, they're gonna buy the rights to the Steam Deck.
That's right.
No, honestly, I think they need to
Valve.
partner with Valve. Just let them do. You make the hardware, we'll throw Game Pass on it. Okay.
It's actually not a bad idea.
No, seriously, if you could get Game Pass on a Steam Deck, that would be pretty awesome.
Caleb would buy one.
Look, I'm probably going to buy one anyways.
But still. Okay, well, I think that's everything on the Xbox documents leak for the week on there. Let's go ahead and move on. We got some news for Cyberpunk 2077, the 2.0 and Phantom Liberty launch.
Yep. So, Cyberpunk 2077, you remember that, listener? The game that was released despite the fact that it was like 3 years away from being finished? It's been 3 years. Game's finished now. Yeah, so Cyberpunk 2077 version 2.0, which is a significant update, has been available to games journalists for just over a week now. And some of them have also been playing the Phantom Liberty expansion that comes along with that. Pretty much everybody agrees that this is now a really good game. All right, that's cool. I'd never bought the game. I
I didn't either.
Once again, in this day and age, listener, this is why you don't pre-order games, because if you spent $60 for this game 3 years ago, you have probably been really pissed off for about 3 years. Just like inexplicably, everything in your life, you're angry all the time. And it turns out it was Cyberpunk's fault. Just to let you in on that detail.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess, yeah, things are fixed now. You're going to be getting an update that's going to make the game actually good. And then you can buy the Phantom Liberty DLC that is supposedly like a really solid story with great characters. And people have really been praising like Idris Elba's performance in it and stuff like that. This is all fine and dandy. But I have one question to put forth. Do we forgive the devs, and in particular the production folks in charge of the devs, for screwing up the launch of this game so badly by buying the game now that it's actually finished? Because I feel like that is acknowledging that we are forgiving them for their screw up. If I now go and buy Cyberpunk because the game is now finished, that's me saying, okay, I forgive you for your stupid, we released this absolutely way too early shenanigans. I'm going to buy the game. And I don't know. What do we think? Do we let them off the hook on this one? Do we actually go buy the game now?
Well, so when you're saying forgive the devs, now what I heard was it was released the way it was because the stockholders or the parent company or someone said you need to release this.
When I say do we forgive the devs, I mean, do we forgive the developer as a corporation, right? This was developed by CD Projekt Red, who obviously, there's the developers themselves, the individual developers who made the game. I feel nothing but sympathy for those poor fellows.
I do.
They have a layer of management above them who were pushing them, and those folks have the actual producers of the game above them who are pushing them. And I blame those folks, right?
Yes.
The very top echelon.
Producers,
those are the guys who were far enough removed from the actual development to not understand how utterly unfinished this game was. But they were the ones that were still forcing them to release it super early. So yeah, that was their fault, fully. And by buying the game now, that's kind of like saying, it's okay. You screwed up. That's why I didn't buy it for the past 3 years, even when it was on sale for half off and stuff like that. But gonna let it slide now. I'll buy it now that it is finished. On the one hand, that rewards the developers for doing excellent work, which I respect them. And it does send the message to the producers that when you do actually finish a game, people will pay for it. But on the other hand, it also sends the message to them that you can, in fact, release an unfinished turd of a product and then polish it over time, and I'll let it slide. I'm not sure which direction I want to go with this. What's the right call?
I mean, you could think of it, I think of it in two different ways. There's that aspect of it, that is this telling them that this is okay? Or if it all depends on what the numbers are previous to now versus now. If more people didn't buy it, or rather, if more people buy it now than bought it before, hopefully it tells them, okay, maybe next time we should wait. But I don't know if that will happen. That's the problem. I don't think they will care either way. But that's how it should be. If that happens again, if more people buy it now, and again, and it also depends on coverage, I guess you could say. Because coverage before obviously was not good. People crapped on this game forever. So it just, I think it just depends on how the numbers are from this point moving forward.
I'm thinking they might be actually in the way that you were talking, you wanted it to be, just because if I remember correctly, PlayStation removed it
Straight up.
The number one console maker removed
pulled it from their store
from the
'cause it
store.
was so broken.
So I would say, yeah, I think that's it. And then obviously re-released it, but still with this and the hype. But I think by the time they quote unquote fixed in the 1 point whatever patches up to this, I still feel there were other games that came out that people were playing. They're like, I'll get to Cyberpunk when it's fixed. So I'm feeling it might have done that way. So to where now it's like, jump in. Because I've even heard articles, or I've read articles and people have talked about, hey, you had a game back in the 1.0 version. You might as well just restart it. Just restart the game. Don't even play from that point because stuff has changed so drastically. You'd be like, I don't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, and I think like the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 has now become the term that we use. It's like
that too.
It's like we're talking about a completely different game from a completely different developer, and we're like, is this going to be a 2077 situation, or is this going to be a finished game? The fact that is true. Now the vernacular that the gaming, coverage uses is a problem, and so you would hope that they would see that and be like, okay, we can't ever do this again, especially at least not with like the next game they come out with, the next major game they come out with. This cannot happen with. Now,
just don't put 7 in your title. Fallout 76, Cyberpunk. So
I mean that is fair. That's fair.
Sorry, it's a little joke, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
I would say, do we forgive the devs? I mean, yeah, I guess I'm on the side of, hey, you made it good. Here's my money finally. Here you go.
Yeah. And I mean, it is worth noting. It's not like I bought the game back then and now I'm all like, I didn't either kind of thing. But I did not buy it because I don't pre-order anything. I wait until the product's actually released and then I let people play it. And then I find out whether or not it's crap. Yeah. And I'm really glad because, freaking The Witcher 3 is still one of the best games I've ever played. And
you want to be a part of the hype.
Right.
You want to be a part of that. Like me too.
I was fully expecting CD Projekt Red to come out swinging with something that was of comparable quality to The Witcher 3.
I mean, he had Keanu Reeves in it.
Right.
Right.
And it's like, they came out with something that was in some ways of comparable quality, in terms of like it being a vast, expansive open world and of having an incredibly detailed story with like all of these very real feeling characters in it and that sort of thing. Yeah, it was a comparable game to The Witcher 3, but it was also just a horrendously broken game in just every other way, so
should have game previewed that first. Like Baldur's Gate.
That's very much the kind of thing where like, I don't know. It's, I don't appreciate AAA developers releasing unfinished games and then patching them into playability. I'm just not a fan. And I guess maybe if I just only buy games once they're actually finished, then maybe it won't be as big of a deal. Like maybe that's me voting with my money to tell these developers, hey, I'll buy it once it's done.
Yeah.
But not until then. So freaking like, yeah. And it's kind of the same thing with Baldur's Gate 3. Actually, I still haven't bought that, but I would at this point if I had finished Divinity Original Sin 2. But it's been in early access for years. And I was always looking forward to it during that time and I knew about it, but I never bought it in early access just because I was like, well, it's not done yet. I'll wait until it's done. And that's, I think, I guess this is sort of the same thing, except CD Projekt Red forgot to let everyone know that this was the early access period for Cyberpunk, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's an interesting situation. I don't want them to feel like, we can just eventually patch it in profitability. It'll be all right. But just finish the games. Just finish it. Then release it.
Deal. I agree. Okay, I think that's everything on that subject, unless anyone else wants to add anything. Nope. All right, well, that's actually going to wrap up the rest of our episode here, unless Landon's got one more thing.
Nope.
Nope, not today. All right. Well, dear listener, we appreciate you listening to us rant on and get into the depths of the Microsoft leaks and everything else that came today. There was a lot, actually, so we appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of us or on anything or leave us a comment or anything, you can on our social media platforms. You can hop on and take a look at what was mentioned before on the YouTube channel. If you want to check out the Crackdown 3 review, you can on our YouTube channel.
Even more entertaining, if you go look at the Crackdown 3 stream gameplay, you can see me throw Wes in a car, and that was one of the best moments I've had in video games in the past 5 years.
It was pretty fun. He did pick me up and threw me. It was awesome.
It was not what I was expecting to happen, and it was great. I loved it.
Definitely check that out. All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.